So the first thing is just saying that the student government budget is for all of you to use and to utilize for events. We have $50,000 budgeted for student organizations and $50,000 designated for club sports. And so the process is you just go to our student government website and then click on services. And then there's a little link that says click here. And then once you click here, oh, I thought something weird was going behind me. Sorry. You click here. And then after that, you would just fill out the application. So some parts of the application is like your name, what student organization you're representing, what's the purpose of your event. You may need to submit some more documentation, maybe some receipts to make sure we know exactly how much you're requesting. And then the next step after that, once you submitted it and you hear back from either the director of business and finance, Evan Sharpen, or our judicial sergeant, at that point, then they would welcome you to a committee meeting. Some of the examples of the events that we've funded would be Delta Tau Delta, AKA, AMP, Latino Student Association, Diversity Council, African American Student Association, and there's a long list of other ones too. So it doesn't really matter what your specific org is about. Everyone is eligible as long as you're in a good clearing with campus life to get money from student government. Some of the principles for funding is that, or getting your event or your allocation to be approved would be making sure that it serves a significant number of students. And what I mean by that is if it's an event that you know it's only for 5 students, 9 times out of 10, it's probably not going to be approved, unfortunately. As long as it's serving at least like, I don't know, just to give an example, like 20 or 30 students, most likely it will be. But if you come to student government before the committee meeting and say, hey, this event is truthfully only for like 2 to 5 people, it may not be approved because it's a small number of the student body. Another thing is just we really like that you seek out other alternative methods for funding. So if you let us know that, hey, we're coming for student government, but we also ask campus life, we partner with some other departments to get funding, that increases your chances. Even if they said no, it still increases that you look outside before coming to us, even though this is technically your money. Um, there's some prohibitions. Some of the things that we do not fund is avoidable interest fees, events that alcohol is supplied or consumed by participants. Yeah, I'm sorry. um, Prizes, gifts, and things like that. If for whatever reason you damage something like a guitar or some speakers, we won't provide any funding for that. And lastly, another one that's a big thing is events that charge students. We want to make sure that if we're funding your event is open to all students free of charge. A suggested donation by any means is fine. Some stipulations, of course, is no single organization shall request more than 9% of our budget, which is $4,500. So that means that if your request is over $4,500, which is like 5,000, you're capped at 4,500. So that's the most you'll get per allocation request. That's not for the year. So if you come to us and you request 4,500 one time, that doesn't mean that you can't come to us again later in the year. Um, Another big thing we just added is that an allocation request will not be heard if more than one student organization is requesting funding for the same event. So if NAACP, just because I see you guys in Poetry Society are partnering up for an event, they cannot. Sorry. Sorry. If they're partnering up for an event, if they submit an allocation request that is for the same event, that won't be heard. It's only one student organization for one event. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't collaborate. It just means that they can't get money for the same event. Um, And then the timeline, just very briefly. So I'll give you an example. So if you had an event coming up in October or November, this would be the perfect time to request funding from student government. So for instance, the deadline is always the Tuesday before the committee meeting. So a good example is today. Tonight was our Senate meeting. So tonight by 5 p.m. would have been a perfect chance for you to submit an allocation request for it to be heard next Tuesday at the committee hearing, if that makes sense. So it's always on a Tuesday, and the way you figure it out is that it's always on a Senate Tuesday where you have to submit your allocation request. Um, And then last but not least, there's a couple of new things that we've done this year. If an organization, for whatever reason, is in debt with event planning or campus life, as long as you have a payment plan set up with campus life, and it's verified by them, you can receive funding from student government. That's something we just changed, so I want to make sure everyone knows that. No matter if you're in the negative or whatever the situation is, you still can get funding from student government. And then lastly, hopefully everyone read the email HIPAA sent out, the Your Voice, Your Vote campaign. It's basically free money. All you have to do is register students to vote. So register at least 25 people, and you can get entered in to win $500 free of charge. We do not care what you do with the money.